getting younger every day. On the front row of the grade then, we've got those four. We've got Fabien Foray, Gianluca Nanelli has somehow survived two massive offs, one of which knocked him senseless on Friday and meant he missed the first qualifying session. He's sixth on the grid. Oh, and the howling, screaming, 16 laps to go with number 16, Charpentier on pole position. This is the start with Tom Tunstall, number 27, on the Hardage Bridgeport Honda, right middle of the picture there on that beautiful custard yellow bike as they assault the first turn. Hopefully cleanly. We don't want to see a Chris Walker. That's such awful news that Chris has suffered a broken elbow in a collision with it turned out that the baddie was, would you believe, was Jürgen van der Goorberg, wild carding on the Ritzler Suzuki.
And this is one of the circuits where you can see nothing. When you're in the pack on the first lap, you've got to be so accurate with where you hit the apexes of the little corners. Even though these look, one apex there, straight across to another apex, and if you're unsighted by the fact that you know 15 people in front of you, it can be such a difficult circuit to ride the first few laps as they get spread out.
He's hit the front again. Charpentier's there in the lead. Robin Harms is in fourth place, the Danish 24-year-old from Copenhagen. Fabien Foray and Stigfeldt, who's Robin Harms' teammate at Stiggy Motorsports. He's well up there at the top, and right out just on the fringe of the points there is the veteran Cristiano Migliorati, as that kid Michel Fabrizio proves there's nothing wrong with his mashed ankle by diving inside Katsuaki Fujiwara and taking second place. So Charpentier has the advantage at the moment. Fabrizio is right behind him. Fujiwara and is that number 47 who's in fourth place, which is Jarno van der Marel, who's a 21-year-old local boy on the Suzuki GSX-R 600.
It looks like a Honda to me.
No, it's Robin Harms. It's 127. I'm getting my numbers confused. I do beg your pardon. I thought we shouldn't have
qualified
expected
second. We should have expected that.
We should really, yeah. And a good start for Xavi Forres on the Alstara Corona Suzuki 600. But he loses out 2 places in one chunk. I don't know whether he was trying to nibble them back again as he went. He was going all the way over the curb. And one of the two people who got past him, as we watch 27, Tom Tunstall in there, just ahead of that number 47 I mentioned, Jarno van der Marel. So he's in amongst the guys who know their way round here, which is probably quite helpful. I was going to say the guys who got past Xavier Forres on the way into that final chicane with a former world champion Stefan Chambon and number 23 Brock Parks on the second of the Yamaha Deutschland R6s. Kevin Curtin on the first of those bikes is fifth. Sixth place is Michel Fabrizio's teammate Fabien Foray. Corradi, with his extremely exquisite facial hair, is in seventh place. And the sun continues to shine. It's just an absolutely rapturous afternoon here at Assen. When you think about some of the not so exquisite weather we've had in the past, it's quite amazingly nice.
I don't know why we're showing this again. It was a fairly normal start.
It was a fairly normal start because this guy took it. It's amazing how he's come good just in recent times, really. Sebastian Charpentier.
He's been racing around for a long time, been on the circuit a long time, a lot of endurance racing behind him, and never really done that much. He's been a very, very good rider, but never been an outstanding rider, which he seems to have become just this season and the end of last season.
Certainly come on since he was a teenager on 50cc mopeds. And Fujiwara, the man who needs to beat him, is actually being given a really hard time by number 127 Robin Harms, the 24-year-old from Copenhagen on the Stiggy Motorsports Honda. Charpentier has the advantage and he's beginning to ease away at the front, leaving this battle going on behind him. Fujiwara, of course, batted himself around at the Suzuka 8 Hours, and that's Fabien Foray making a move on Kevin Curtin.
And a good one.
So Foray goes through, and Curtin on the sole Yamaha in this leading squabble is back in sixth place. Charpentier on his own, look at that speed, 261 Ks. And you can hear the rasp of one of the Ducatis Although that's Alessio Carradi lying in 5th place, the former European Supersport champion, on his 749R. Likes to ride on Lucky 13 as well, which is quite
I don't
brave.
think he is. He's not in 5th there. Might have been over the line.
You're right. We heard his thunder, but we didn't see him.
Because that in 5th, that's Foray just in 5th, I believe. Call me old-fashioned, but I'm watching the telly. When they go outside, right, you want to watch the screen, Jack.
Instead of squint out of the window helplessly. Charpentier leads. 2nd place, we've got Michel Fabrizio. 3rd place, Katsuaki Fujiwara. 4th place, Robin Harms. 5th, Fabian the Ferret Foray. And in 6th place, Kevin Curtin, but not for... the Ferret tries to go underneath Robin Harms, but like the true gentleman he is, he has to pull back. Charpentier then with a 2 minutes 8.889 second. Last lap, that's his fastest lap of the race, and it means that he's lapping already about a half a second quicker than his pursuers.
Yeah, this is what we're used to seeing by Charpentier. When he gets happy on a track, and he's been happy on most of the circuits this year, there's just nobody in the class can stop him. He seems to be on the best bike. Certainly the Honda would seem to be the bike to have this year, and a Tenkate bike would seem to be the Honda to have. A lot's happening, a lot's going to be happening for next year in Supersport class. Kawasaki and Suzuki new bike out, also Yamaha. I've seen pictures of the new R6, and it looks like it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and a little race bike at that.
Katsuaki Fujiwara just nips back into 2nd place at turn 1 ahead of Michel Fabrizio.
And this is a fantastic circuit to ride on these bikes. I've ridden this circuit both on 500 2-stroke GP bikes, factory World Superbikes, and also World Supersport, and it's certainly a lot more enjoyable on the bikes with just that little bit less power. Now you're talking about 140 horsepower for these bikes. When I last raced here, probably about high 120s, and it's just a fantastic circuit on these bikes with just that little bit less power. The superbikes just tend to be a little bit of an handful around here. These things are just fantastic to ride.
So all these guys, we can safely assume, are having fun, especially the ones... It was noticeable that, when that Robin Harms just had a big moment then that cost him a bit of time. That was Fujiwara nicking 2nd place in turn 1.
Yeah, in an odd way really, went around the outside, which is a little bit unusual.
The Cats must be realising that he's somehow got to find a way of living with the leader right now.
Yeah, nobody seems to be able to do.
99, Fabian Foray did benefit from that mistake of Robin Harms, and he's moved through into 4th place ahead of the Stiggy Motorsports Honda. Typical of Foray, taking a huge line across the rumble strip there.
Yeah, in typical Supersport, there's always, even if the dice isn't for the lead, there's always 3 or 4 people having a right old go at each other throughout the race. This is why I loved it. A 16-lap race round here, it doesn't seem a lot of laps, but it's a long circuit and it's a fast circuit, and it can be a long time and it can be quite physical. If you're involved in a real old fight with somebody, it makes those laps click off us so much quicker, makes it into a really short and enjoyable race.
The first Ducati is, I am right about that, I just had him in the wrong place, is in 9th place at the moment. That's number 13, there he is, the exquisitely coiffured Alessio Carradi.
And this is what 600 Supersport racing is all about. Big gaggles of riders all having a go at each other. In fact, to be honest, I've done my first elbow bashing since I packed in racing. I've been down last Wednesday. I've been in Bonyol in Spain for the annual Tomatina Tomato War. And me and some lads from Two Wheels Only magazine took part in that. In fact, we're straight in there, right in the mix of it, right in the thick of it. And that was fantastic. 140,000 people crammed into a small square in a small Spanish village, throwing 125 tons of big soggy ripe tomatoes at each other. You don't get any better than that. It doesn't seem to make sense, but when you're there, it makes perfect sense.
You must have looked the right state.
Yeah. My dad be turning his grave, wasting tomatoes.
Yeah. What do you think you're doing, lad? They cost money.
My dad had been filling his trousers and running off.
That battle we've got between Xavier Forrest, amongst others, and look at them carving one another up. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, this is great. This is just what it's all about.
And Fujiwara, now he's escaped momentarily from Fabrizio. He's closed the gap.
Yeah.
He knows he's got to prevent Charpentier winning this race. Interesting. He set a 2 minutes 8.9. He got underneath 2 minutes 9 for the first time as we watch the Robin Harms lose out once again to Fabien Foray for 4th place.
Yeah.
And Foray, I thought for a moment he was waving an apology. I think he was trying to get rid of a sticky peel off there.
Tear off, Jack, I think.
Tear off, that's the word I'm looking
for.
for.
And that's Fujiwara's just put whilst he's just put his fastest lap in trying to catch Charpentier's 2:08.9.
Yeah, the first time he's gone under 2 now,
Yeah.
just at the point where Charpentier, I don't know whether he just thought he had it under control, has dropped to a 2 minutes 9.4 when he's normally been lapping a little bit quicker than that. So this could yet get interesting at the front. Katsuaki Fujiwara, who loves his fishing, versus Sebastian Charpentier, who loves his house music and his cycling. Charpentier, incidentally, his idea of having time off bike number 16 was to actually be DJ at 2 massive house parties during August down in his native southwest France, which started off at 11 o'clock at night, 6 hours through to 5 in the morning, and Sebastian was the man at the turntable throughout. Then he probably went out and rode a few miles the next day. I don't know, I didn't ask him that bit. I'll tell you, there's one fascinating thing about Charpentier. He comes, you know that France is divided up into departments rather than counties. He comes from Charente in southwest France, and their department number is number 16, which is why Sebastian rides number 16. And there's a full house contingent of what amounts to his local council members here at Assen this weekend, and they've got so much going on. Oh, Carradi's out. Oh, he's been putting in such a good ride on that Ducati 749R, and the former on the Selmat Ducati, ridden of course at the beginning of the year by Jürgen van der Gorberg, and he's out of the running emphatically.
That's the bike that Jürgen van der Gorberg says it's impossible to get a result on.
That's right, yeah.
Well, easy if it breaks down
incidentally,
anyway.
did we mention it was van der Gorberg who
took
Chris Walker
Yeah, he just rode straight up the inside and straight into him, and actually he was probably the initial hit that actually broke Chris Walker's elbow, because he hit him right in the side.
I was mentioning that Sebastian Charpentier, members of his Concierge General, his district council, are here this weekend at Assen, and they have a whole campaign going around Sebastian, getting kids school visits and PR events, getting kids interested. There's posters and postcards everywhere, getting kids interested in motorbikes as a hobby and as a potential sport, and it's all being done around Sebastian Charpentier and his name. So certainly he'll have a pretty terrific time of things as a world champion. They've got a huge welcome planned back at home for him if he could win this race, otherwise it might have to be delayed a week or two.
Yeah, he's still got plenty of time to do it. It's nice when you can win it before the end of the season though, because what you tend to find is you actually ride better when you've won it, because the pressure's off then and you relax.
Well, it's not often that we've seen Fujiwara managing to put the pressure on Charpentier, but this is an example. On that last lap, 2 minutes 9.3 for Fujiwara, 2 minutes 9.4 for Charpentier. So he's well and truly in touch now and matching the speed. But the speed of Charpentier has dropped rather dramatically. He's dropped half a second on his the lap times he was setting in the first 4 or 5 circuits.
Yeah, and Foray is actually putting sub 2 minute 9 laps in now. Another. That's a 2 minute 8.9, but that's about his third one on the trot for Foray.
So all sorts of movements around in the pack here. First Kawasaki Migliorati is just outside the points in 16th place. I thought for a moment we were going to get a glimpse of him then. As we watch that stream being led by the Ari Voss, the 29-year-old on the J&E Sport Racing Honda. Painted Kawasaki green just to confuse a simpleton like myself. And Michel Fabrizio, far from having suffering from the pain in his ankle, that he must have had some Tom Tunstall's painkillers, because he looks pretty comfortable in third place. And Fabien Foray, who's also always loved this place, is also looking pretty dangerous in fourth.
Yeah, and I've seen Charpentier make about 2 or 3 mistakes there, just in the last half lap we've been watching him. That to me would suggest he is feeling a little bit of pressure.
Kawasaki have won here before, of course, in the hands of the redoubtable Ian Fearless McPherson in 1999 on his way to runner-up in the championship to Chambon. Ruben Schaus won for Ducati in 2000. Paolo Casali, your former teammate, James, for Yamaha Belgarda in 2001. And Fabien Foray loves this place. He won for Honda on his way to for Honda in 2002.
Yeah, and speaking of Ian McPherson, the guy's now a fully qualified and working firefighter up in Glasgow.
So he's become Ian Fearless Fireman, firefighter McPherson, as we watch the lead change, and Fujiwara has nabbed the advantage. Now that does keep the championship alive right now, just when we were beginning to get the celebratory t-shirts out ready printed for Sébastien Charpentier. Bit of a disappointment for the members of his concierge general.
In actual fact, you know, there's been cases where t-shirts have been printed in great numbers and then the person hasn't actually won the championship. Oh, and that's Fujiwara almost off the track there. Just completely outbraked himself and slides straight back to 4th place.
So suddenly Charpentier has been, oh, that's just what Fuji didn't want to, of all the things he didn't want to do, that was it.
Yep.
And a ride through from Julien Enjorlas of Spain. He didn't look very pleased about it, did he?
That'll be for a jump start.
Meanwhile, back in this major tussle that's going on, and it's Brock Parks who's now got to the front of that bunch, as you would expect the slide-happy Australian to do, but Michel Fabrizio is now really pressing hard.
Likewise, Fabien Foray. I've got a feeling about Foray, Jack.
He loves this place. He does. He really enjoys riding round here.
It would be nice to see Foray hit a little bit of form. We haven't seen much of him since that horrendous crash at Brands Hatch. That actually wasn't as bad as what it looked. It broke his ankle quite badly and he's still suffering from it. He can't train very hard. But it really did at one point look like it was going to be worse than that. And that's Fujiwara just outbreaking himself completely.
Fuji, that was a big mistake, and it could just cost him dearly. It was interesting to see.
And look at Curtin. Curtin's back on the back of his pack, and one man who will have a go and will try and pass anywhere is Kevin Curtin.
So this is developing into one of the most energised world supersports races we've ever seen anywhere. And as Top Cat Tony Carter would say back in the studio, what do I tell you? The racing you get from a classic circuit like Assen shouldn't be interfered with. And here we have another one in the melting pot. I was telling you who'd won here in the past, incidentally, as and here comes Foray, dives underneath. Foray won in 2002 for Honda. And then, of course, Muggeridge has been a double winner he's won for the last 2 seasons for Tenkate. So Tenkate with an impeccable record. The last 3 visits they've won, but it looks as if one of the men who won for them, Fabien Foray, wants the mega bike Honda to be in the #1 spot by the end of the race. It's going to be interesting to see how the race lap times top out at the end of this one, because there's quite a lot going on right now, and Foray looks like the man on a mission.
Yeah, he's certainly the man on the move. He's been putting quick lap after quick lap in. It will have slowed down now because they're just passing each other and holding each other up a little bit. A bit of thumb twiddling going on there.
And the nerves are fraying in the Tenkate Winston camp. It would seem that should he acquire the #1 plate, incidentally, that Sébastien Charpentier, in that amiable, relaxed, happy way of his, is looking forward to defending it rather than marching off to pastures new, like most of the recent World Supersports champions, with the exception of number 99 Foray, have done.
I think Foray a couple of years ago would have loved to go on to World Superbike, and I think that's where he was aiming, but obviously that crash and circumstances prevented it. But Charpentier is a little bit older than the winners have been for a few years. Also, he's been around a lot longer, and I think he probably will have different aspirations within the sport.
Also, as I was mentioning, the support he's getting from the department of Charente in southwestern France, and the name that it's given him, everything's just going so smoothly for him. I shouldn't think he wants to just throw that all up in the air and walk off from it. Yeah,
but it's difficult when you've won the championship. Things change, new bikes out next year, new people in the championship. When you've won it, you've only got one way to go. So if you do get a chance of moving on, and the money's as good doing something else, you tend to look at that as an option.
Howling across the line. Let's check out a few lap times as we cross the line, and that was a 2:09.
Foray quick again.
For Charpentier. Foray 2:08.8. And
and that's a big mistake from Foray. Dug his knee right into the sand there, off the inside of the rumble strip. And Foray is a man when he's pushing that will make a mistake. We've seen several mistakes from him over the last few years.
Fujiwara has got back through into third place ahead of Michel Fabrizio.
I hope it shows that again, because Foray's knee went right onto the dirt on the inside of it was basically too far on the inside of the circuit on the apex.
Come on, Mr. Director, did you hear that? Let's see it again. We want to see what Foray did.
We're not going to see it. Take my word for it. It was a mistake.
The things that you really want to see don't happen. It's a bit like those constant replays of people just missing a goal at football, and you know it's never going to go in, no matter how many times you watch it.
And then when they go back to the normal action, they have missed a goal. While they were showing the near goal.
At the front, Charpentier leads. Foray second. We've got a 1-2, a French 1-2. Third for Japan, Fujiwara. Fourth for Italy, Fabrizio. Fifth for Australia, Kevin Curtin, in a class that was once absolutely dominated by Aussies. Behind him, we've got Robin Harms of Denmark, Brock Parks of Australia, and Xavier Forres of Spain. The lead changes, and Fabien Foray dives underneath Charpentier, but just can't hold on. And Charpentier, very quick-wittedly, just retaliates in an instant, James.
Yeah, that was an immediate... What actually happened, Foray had to run a little bit wide because he'd gone up the inside of him, and that just gave Charpentier the opportunity to turn it tighter and get up the inside of Foray to the next corner.
I get the impression that Sebastian's enjoying this, and he wants to mix it up and see if he can. He might as well try for the race win from this position and tie up the championship. Yeah,
of course. And if he didn't, I mean, even if he fell off, the fact is he's still got 3 more chances to do it.
Charpentier in the lead then. Fabien Foray second. Fujiwara is back through to third, and again he's looking threatening. He's already proved the potential. Foray goes through, and this time,
tight this time,
just holds on to it. Charpentier tries to see a way through on the inside, but it's not going to be there. Oh, and Fujiwara almost looked underneath, and Charpentier, where did he pull that one
That
from?
is such a difficult place to pass, and that was quite hard riding actually. There's not a lot of call for that, to be honest. They're both trying to show each other that they're the toughest. And I think there's a little bit of needle here.
There's 2 Frenchmen together, mate, and I suppose that's going to produce a bit of needle, isn't it?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Well, we're getting it anyway, and it's producing a bit of excitement.
We're getting it anyway.
And both of them were identical lap times of 2 minutes 9.4 on the last circuit. And Tom Tunstall's appear on the leaderboard on the Hargen Bridgesport Honda. I'm glad to say he's in 20th place in a battle with Van der Marel, who's just ahead of him on bike number 47. That was the move produced by Charpentier, and that was... I thought it was absolute class, myself.
No. Just before that, Jack, we missed it the corner before they went round straight together, and they were just looking at each other and trying to sort of force each other off a little bit.
Well, someone's forced himself off. Tomas Miszkowski of the Czech Republic has dropped his Honda and trudges sadly off in his AMCA leathers. This is great racing. I like that. We've got what a wonderful perfect colour pattern we've got. The Winston red, white and blue ahead of the bright red of the mega bikes. This is going to be a one cracking race right down to the very end. And Miszkowski, incidentally, was lying in 17th place, so that'll pull Tom Tunstall up to 19th place on the Huddersfield boys' debut here at Assen. Once again, Fabien Foray lines up a pass, and he takes the lead. Foray back to the front. Charpentier second. Katsuaki Fujiwara third.
And we'll just see just how quick the Tenkate bike is compared to the more standard Honda.
There.
Yeah, quicker. Yep. Yeah.
It was a bit like the Alstara Corona Suzuki in Superbike.
It was. They both came out of the chicane exactly together at the same speed, and you can just see how quick that Tenkate bike is compared to the other Hondas.
Tom Tunstall, incidentally, is on an ex-Tenkate bike that was bought for him by the Hardinge Bridgesport guys, which is very decent.
That's right, yeah. I mean,
so he's on good equipment.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 running in Britain. If you're going to be on a Honda, you really want to be on a Tenkate bike if you can.
Charpentier back at the front again in this topsy-turvy race. Foray second, Fujiwara third, fourth Fabrizio, fifth Curtin.
And for me, Foray is definitely the quickest round the bends of the top 3 or 4. You can see that just about every corner is quicker mid-corner than Charpentier. He's actually riding, I think, a little bit better than Charpentier. But he hasn't got the speed of the 10 Carter Honda.
He once had it, but he went off to Kawasaki, didn't he, to run the number 1 plate with them, and had quite a difficult year. Finally got a race win, but the 10 Carter Honda was still very much the bike to beat, and Vermeulen succeeded him on a 10 Carter bike as world champ. And Kevin Curtin working so hard on that Yamaha Germany R6, but look at Foray misses the apex altogether and has to pull it right back. Charpentier is, he may be making some mistakes himself, but it's the other guys who are making the bigger ones, James.
Yeah, we know. We just saw Foray make quite a big mistake there, and we know that Foray does make mistakes. He does. He looks round a lot. He stopped looking round as much as he ever used to do. He used to look round more than look forward, actually. But he does make mistakes. He's right with him again now.
He is. He's great, isn't he, the ferret? He just never... It's a bit like when a ferret gets into somebody's trousers. They just don't let go.
And that happens a lot, does it? I'm not coming round your house.
It's never happened to me. I thought it was a Yorkshire trait.
Is that what happens when a ferret gets in your trousers? Let me think about that one.
Have you never had one in your trousers? Then it's not. I thought
Strange.
It was a Yorkshire happening.
What, do you think we'd just have ferrets for putting down his trousers?
Yeah, probably, yes.
No.
Sebastian Charpentier at the front. 12 laps out of 16 already complete. And Charpentier, listen to those bikes. What sort of rev range are these? Oh, did you see that? Did you see that trail rider? He's got lost on the infield.
Has he got lost?
He's in for a shock.
No, he's actually travelling marshal. They have travelling sort of marshals on the areas away from the dangerous areas, mostly on the inside of the track. So if there's a crash, you can actually get a lift back with someone on a trail bike. There's little roads connecting the whole inside of the circuit and back to the paddock.
What's the sort of, generally speaking, what are you revving these bikes to? When are they really coming on song?
These things are pulling good from maybe 8,000 RPM right up to about 6,000 RPM. You've got to remember these things now are up to about...
from 8,000 to about 6?
About 16,000, yeah. What you've got to remember is these things now are about 140 brake horsepower. That is a lot of power. These things are proper little race bikes. There's proper development going into these 600s now.
And that was another brave move by Fabien Foray. He can throw everything into sticking rubber to the deck when he needs to outbrake somebody. And now Fujiwara is beginning to hound his teammate. But look at this move, James.
Yeah, well, that's into the new part of the circuit. That's into the new chicane. And for me, Foray's riding the best out of this leading bunch. If he can just put 3 or 4 laps together and not make a mistake, although saying that, to get away from a man who has got a really quick bike compared to you, I mean, that's just power. Now, that is such difficult work to get away from somebody with that much power advantage over you. And we see Foray up the inside. He's not going to make it this time.
Oh, but he's going to have a damn good go.
Yeah, what you've got to be careful if you're going up the inside of somebody and they don't see you, they turn into the corner, they can soon take your front wheel away.
So Foray is demoted once again to second place by championship leader Sebastian Charpentier.
And only 3 laps to go. This again, it sneaked up on us. The race is that good, we're that excited, that we actually missed the fact that he's nearly the end of the race.
And Fabien Foray, of course, with 85 points, lies 4th in the championship behind Curtin on 109, Fujiwara 116, Charpentier 190. We forget how close Kevin Curtin is to Fujiwara, and if Curtin, of course, both of them failed to finish in the Czech Republic, Kevin Curtin throwing away a certain second place in his desperate attempts as he strove to get on terms with Charpentier at Brno. Michel Fabrizio, he's in 5th on 82, just 3 points behind Foray.
And Foray is so much quicker than Charpentier on several parts of this circuit, so much faster.
Oof, and that was a real sort of, if I get my elbow in front of yours, I'm going to have this turn, and that was pretty terrifying stuff. A quick wipe of the forehead in the Tenkate camp. Of course, they're not used to seeing Charpentier under quite this much pressure, except really from Fujiwara.
Which is all right, because he's his teammate.
Exactly. Now, is Charpentier at this stage able to do a Torsland and just begin to haul a little bit of a gap between himself and the man behind him?
I think Foray's just riding so much better. In the corners, he's riding so much better than Charpentier. Most corners he's quicker, and he seems to be able to catch up easy enough. But as soon as Foray gets in front, Charpentier just seems to have the power to drive past him almost at will. That is so frustrating for Foray.
And the battle for third place and the final podium step is also raging. There's just a little bit of a gap opened up now. Fujiwara slightly lost touch as Foray tries in vain to get inside Charpentier at the same place as Sebastian.
We know how good Foray is on the brakes. Oh, nearly put himself on the grass there.
So with 2 laps to go. Oh, and that was a really quick exit from the chicane by Charpentier.
It was.
He had the line absolutely pinned at that point, got the power down, and he was gone.
And this, I have been on the receiving end of the Tenkate, and that's Charpentier running really wide there. That gives Foray another chance to close up to within striking distance for the last lap. And Fujiwara's not giving up.
He's coming back on them again. He's managing to grind that gap back down.
This is exactly what Supersport racing is all about. This is why I enjoyed it so much.
Fabian Foray, his 62nd World Supersports race. Oh!
Fujiwara's packed in.
Fujiwara's in trouble.
I think the bike's gone pop. Oh, looks to have got going again now. Mr. Gear, maybe?
Well, it seems to be okay, but Fujiwara suddenly is isolated in 5th place. He's right out of it. The battle now is between these 2 guys for the lead and between...
He just sat up, rode straight on as if the bike had blown up. Doesn't even look to be fumbling with the gearbox. He's there. He's actually playing with the gearbox there. Just, I think maybe jumped out of gear.
So a slightly perplexed team camp there at Tenkate Honda. They've still got Charpentier, potential world champion, at the front. Looking for his 8th career World Supersports win. Fabian Foray already has those 8 victories and 15 podiums from 61 starts.
Come on, Fabian, I want to see him win it. He's done all the hard work this race. He's got a slower bike than Charpentier, and I want to see Foray win this race.
Go on then, Fabian, you've got your orders.
Nobody, I can't give orders to anybody. I get the orders off the missus. You wouldn't expect him to give in, of course. He just knows that if he could just hound the guy into a mistake. Lovely.
Oh, this time he has got the straight line
and
underneath.
We know that he's quicker into the chicane, which is this corner now. We know he's quicker.
So he's late on the brakes.
Yeah.
And Charpentier can't get near him there.
Nothing, but I think, now, we'll see the obvious now. We'll see the Tenkate back go whizzing straight past on the straight.
Charpentier just takes a quick check that there's no one threatening him, and now he's got to set about it as they cross the line for the final lap. Charpentier knows that there's one place he's got to be at the end of this lap. It's ahead of Fabian Foray if he's going to be world champion right now.
I don't think he can do it. I really don't think Charpentier, unless he got past him where he didn't on the start and finish, I don't think he can do it.
He's going to try this move again. Oh, and this time Foray is wise to it and he won't give way. Oh, well done, Fabian. So the 32-year-old from Angoulême still hangs on at the front on the Team Megabike Honda.
And Fujiwara dropping ground but still going in 5th.
This is going to be some sort of climax to this race.
And Kern's looking at getting 3rd.
Curtin desperately wants that 3rd place, but I'd rather we stayed with the leaders, please, if we would.
And this is another point where Charpentier might have a chance with a quicker bike and just get under him into the new chicane.
Thanks very much for returning to the action. And this is Charpentier's chance into the new chicane. He can't do it
close
there.
Enough.
Foray's got it. We know that there's one further possibility, at least that we've seen demonstrated before, and that's through the fast sweeping left-hander.
And into the chicane for the last time.
Fabian Foray, what a terrific... We haven't seen this sort of rousing performance from the former champion for a long while. And remember, he came from a good distance back in 5th place at the outset. He's got to hold those lines, but also he's got to be able to get the power down to keep the quicker Tenkate bike behind him.
He's got to ride defensively around the last left and into the chicane.
What can he do with this long left? When they get to the long left, he's got to keep it tight, surely. Can he do that?
He's got to keep it tight, but that'll give Charpentier the right-hand side of the track for the chicane. I don't think Charpentier can get him now.
He's not close enough.
No, he isn't.
So Fabian Foray, is he going to take a momentous victory here at Assen? His second ever race win at Assen in World Supersport. Fabian Foray denies Charpentier his chance of becoming champion at Assen, but Charpentier is happy enough because I think he'll probably be champion anyway, because, well, quite a sort of gapped finishing.
Oh,
what
big
the
crash.
heck's happening there? Was that Migliorati?
Yes.
No, it wasn't. It was that. Oh dear me! It was the other lad who. Good heavens above! What happened?
It looked like the guy in the Kawasaki went out.
Aimed his first race victory of the year. Could it be the comeback trail then for the former world champion? Ahead of Charpentier, Fabrizio. Kevin Curtin a little bit unlucky perhaps to get shaded for that third place on the Yamaha R6. Surrounded by Hondas except for his teammate, number 7, Brock Parks. At Laos Lato, a good ride by the young Finn for the Team Claffey Honda squad that Charpentier rode into 4th place for in the championship last year. Xavier Forrest on the Alstara Suzuki ahead of Michel Le